another episode of the Recurring Value Podcast, where every week we shine a light on what it means to have post-sales success, because ultimately recurring revenue requires recurring value. I'm your host, Brett Sears, CEO and co-founder of AdoptIQ. At AdoptIQ, we recognize the B2B SaaS shouldn't operate in a transactional sales model where the dollars come to an end. And the reality is, in the recurring revenue model, it's so much more about dynamic post-sale support. That's why we're doing this podcast, to learn from the smartest people in the space. Today, I'm thrilled to have Joe Trapani, the co-founder and co-CEO of Vygo, a pioneering platform dedicated to enhance social education experiences. With the mission to ensure every learner receives world-class education, Vygo connects students with supportive community of mentors, advisors, and tutors. They've been growing a bunch and have experienced this post-sale issue. In this episode, I'm excited to do a deep dive into the mind of Joel as a CEO that understands the critical importance of the post-sale success. Joel will share his real-life practical insights to how they think about onboarding, engagement, and the impact of churn. With his extensive experience in building successful software companies and overcoming challenges, Joel will provide invaluable perspectives on how a CEO can effectively manage and optimize their post-sale success teams and environment. So whether you're looking to enhance your customer success strategies or understanding the nuances of the post-sale leadership standpoint, this episode is packed with information that's going to be dedicated just for you. So Joel, welcome, and thank you for taking the time.
Man, thanks so much for having me on today. I'm excited to come on. I've seen you speak a bunch, Brett. I love your thoughts in this space as well. So keen to kind of chat it all out and give as much unsolicited advice as I can.
Yeah, it seems we were talking a little bit earlier. It's a lot easier to tell, than to receive. And so this last little period of time, we're like, how do we get that? Because all of us have stared at a blank dashboard before, going, what am I doing? And when it's ours, we sort of understand it. When it's somebody else's, we see those holes. So I'm excited for this. Why don't we do the obligatory? Can you tell everyone a little bit about you, about your company, and then we'll get into some of the meat of what we're here to talk about.
Of course, mate. Look, I'm very passionate about education. My life is dedicated to education. I found this as a cause that I just want to put all of myself into. I think education in general is the biggest engine for social change in the world, and any kind of major problem we want to solve, it all stems from creating more opportunity through better education for every single person in the world. So that's my personal mission. Coincidentally, that's my company's mission as well. And it's my company, so, sometimes those things are pretty similar. But, at the end of the day, this all stemmed from my own educational experiences. When I was growing up, I did not come from a family of education. No one in my family had ever graduated high school. In all of the generations of my family, no one had ever even gone past grade 10. On top of that, I was diagnosed with a bunch of learning difficulties early on in my journey. So learning just wasn't for me. I was like, it's okay. Learning's just not my thing. School's not my thing. I'll just just go out into the regular world, be a regular person. College is not my life. But as I went through, I was surrounded by these amazing people, amazing teachers who were there to help me get through my schooling. When I failed, they were there to pick me back up. And right, I got towards the end of my schooling, I had a teacher say like, "Hey, you should just have a crack at getting into college." And I was just like, "I don't think so." And they're like, "No, just have a go. Just put your name down." So I had a crack and I got accepted, and it was like this. It kind of like blew my mind. I was like, "Oh my gosh, maybe I'm not dumb," because I always felt dumb. And I made it into college. And I walk into college, my family's like, "Look at Joel, he's a genius." I'm thinking I'm a genius. I'm walking on my chest puffed out, and first piece of assessment came along, failed. Next piece, failed. I'm like, oh shit, what have I got myself into? And just this whole world was so different to me. I didn't understand it, and college wasn't this experience that made sense to me. And I was like, I'll come in earlier. I'll stay back later. I'll sit at the front. I'll spend more time in the library. I wanted to pass. I wanted to have this college life, and I just couldn't make it work. And I get to this point where I'm considering dropping out, and I get to this really low point, and I've got these two paths in front of me. One is that, I've got the bits of paper there that say I'm a failure. The college has told me, good enough. And then I had this other path to follow my family's footsteps. My dad's a concreter, my brothers are concreters, my uncles are all concreters. Like that's the path I'm meant to be on. And when I was at this low point, thinking about dropping out and, feeling down on myself, this random guy came up to me on campus, and he said, "Hey mate, how you going?" And I was like, "Not good." And he just sat down with me. He's in his final year. He was really cool, like so confident in himself, seemed so smart. And he sat down with me for like an hour, and he just asked me what's going on. And I talked. And I remember at the end of that conversation, he said something that just like, it gives me goosebumps to think about it. He said, "You know what? First year is really fucking hard. And he swore. And I was like, oh shit, this guy's awesome. But then he said, I failed a couple of subjects in my first year. And immediately, like, this light bulb went off in my head. But I was like, this cool, confident, awesome guy failed. I saw myself like in a path that I could keep going. And I was like, screw it, I'm coming back tomorrow. And I came back the next day and the next day and the next day. And I went from failing to passing because I had this confidence. And I went from passing to getting my dream job and, you know, becoming an engineer, which I don't know why I wanted to be an engineer, but I became an engineer for a while. But, you know, I met my wife at college and my best friends, my business partner, and my whole life is on this different path because of this one person. And I learned that it only takes one person. It takes one person to light that fire for you, to give you that confidence, to help you take a step forward. And so that's what my whole life is dedicated to, is that I built a company called Vygo, which is helps students have that experience so that 50% of the students in America don't need to drop out. So that the people that want to have that college life can have it so they don't end up with all this college debt. So, and I'm sorry, now I'm rambling now. I just love this space so much. So like, that's what I do. You know, I've got a software platform. We work with universities all through Australia and the UK. The US is the promised land. That's where we're going to go next. But my goal is to help everyone in the world have access to world-class education. And I think that comes through connecting with the right people.
Hearing some of that story, we have a lot of similar backgrounds on certain things. So there's a lot we can get into about that. But so when you have, so now I want to sort of take the passion of that and say, okay, there's this idea, there's this platform, we've got a solution. Now we actually have to make that impact on the people that need it. And so we take it from this like theoretical dream to, okay, there's got to be something hard that's delivered, and we want to show progress because we don't want to make a promise and not deliver on it, because that has a huge impact, right? So that delivering process becomes really critical to the story, right? So let me ask you just a couple questions to set this. Who's buying your software?
Yeah. So universities are the ones that buy our software. So we have like this interesting B2B2C model where a university buys an enterprise contract with us. We then use our platform to run all of their support services with them. And then students are the ones at the end of the day that get the value from us. So we empower universities to help their students through the connection with people. So we care a lot about being successful, but we've got to be successful on a couple of different levels, you know, at the university executive level, at the administrators who are running the services, and then at the students and mentor level as well.
Okay, so this is going to be fun. I'm going to have some fun questions about this stuff, because and as a CEO and as the founder, like you're like, I want to expand, right? Our job is to sort of keep that vision and expansion mindset at all times, but we also have to be able to deliver and execute today with that person. And so holding both of those ideas is both exciting and challenging. So when you think about your first stakeholders, when you think about the universities, right? You've sold them. There's these problems. They're, hey, we're going to solve it. Then they delivered on the idea of, yes, we want this, and this is the solution. How do you guys go about, and you have a team, like how does that connected? What was the evolution of it, of letting them know from the stakeholder standpoint, yes, this is a good idea, and here's how we're going to show you it works, and then continue to stretch their vision over time. So let's start there. Like, how does that work for you guys?
I think at the end of the day, it could boil down to like where you put effort is where you will have success. And so we care a lot about making our partners successful. I guess like we don't even use the term customers a lot of the time. We use the term partners because we see it's so much of a partnership, is that the platform is only one of the elements that we have when we work with them. But no platform is, you know, at an enterprise kind of scale like this, is successful on its own. So we put so much effort. We have more people in customer success, or partner success as we call it, than we have in sales, because we want our partners to be very, very successful to get the value. Because we are mission driven, it's the impact that we care about. You know, obviously money makes businesses run, it makes businesses grow. But when we do our job right, the students have better outcomes, and the university has better outcomes because of that. So the way we do it is that we just have a team dedicated to helping our partners be successful. So that means from day zero, you know, we have our customer success, our partner success team in there, setting the vision for the partnership at every level. At the university level, what is their vision? We come up with a document that we call a success metrics document. It looks very similar to like, you know, a set of OKRs. That where are the 5 areas of value you most want that we can work together to achieve? We understand the university strategy and vision, and we put a lot of time into setting that up first. And then the whole implementation, the running of the program links back to that overarching document. What are we trying to achieve here? Is it engagement? Is it compliance? Is it accessibility? Is it asynchronous support? Is it administrative savings? We know, like, with the quantifiable metrics, what we're trying to achieve. And so we set these goals at the beginning, and then we just do everything we can to help them achieve that. And we do that by empowering them to use the platform better, to train them. Like, we run services all around the world, so we know how to run services effectively. So we also kind of train them up as well. So yeah, I guess, like, really simply is that we just get clear at the beginning about what the goals are of the partnership. What do we want to achieve over the first 3, 6, 12, months, years, whatever. And then we set a document and we meet on that regularly.
Awesome. I'm a big sort of in the weeds and trenches person, so I'm going to ask a couple questions about this because I think there's a lot of value in this. One, how long do you think it took your organization to settle on that structure to where you're like, yep, I got it? So let's start with there. Sort of how long you think that took, and if there's sort of some stories on how that happened.
The whole time. It took us the whole time to get here. It's constantly evolving. I think this structure works right now, but it's going to keep on changing as we learn more about our partners. But we've only been doing this version of, like, very clear goal setting in the past 6 months. So that took us 5 or 6 years to get to. And it went through, like, a whole lot of evolution. And for us, it started with, I was our first customer success person. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that was for years. I was just kind of solving by first principles of, I want this person to be more successful, so what can I do? And it kind of evolved over time. And then we learned what customer success was. And then we started to try and embrace things that CultureAmp did, or, things that we saw other enterprise platforms using, and HubSpot. And it didn't quite work for us. But as we went, we just kept evolving it. But I think, we probably learned fairly early on that you need buy-in and understanding at the top level. And if you don't have the right buy-in at the top level, nothing can save you from churn. And we've had examples in the past, where, like, some of our implementations where we had the most engagement ever have churned. And some of our implementations where we've had, just normal or fine implementation keep growing like crazy. And it goes to show that, like, what you think as a company is value might actually not be what the institution is looking for. So when you understand at that top level what they need, and you can serve that need first, and then roll out the value on top of that, then you will have success and grow. And I think we learned that probably in the first few years, when it felt like we were, like, kind of like playing tug of war with them instead of rowing in the same direction.
How do you guys, from a structure standpoint, because I'm assuming that expanding your usage is a revenue generator, right? That you can continue to sort of grow that way. So new features or new experiences or new departments is sort of a revenue expansion model within the platform?
Not necessarily, like to some extent, yes, but because we sell big enterprise contracts, like if another student uses our platform, it doesn't change how much revenue we make. So the more usage we have, it's just for better outcomes for the university. So we kind of, like, go in, maybe when we sell new products to them, or if we're sitting in one faculty and we sell to another part of the faculty or another part of the business, that we can expand. But really, it's just about helping them achieve the goals that they want is what we care about. But, on the inverse, if you do a bad job and there's no value, it leads to churn. So it's like, being successful is massively revenue generating for us in that perspective, because, like you said in the introduction, is that if we want to have recurring revenue and revenue that comes to us every single year with this client, they need to be happy with us and getting a lot of value out of it. So we take that very seriously.
One of the last questions that I talk about this is that when you get buy-in from the top stakeholders, but you have rollout in, say, the middle department where they're actually executing, or the admins and stuff like that, they've got different jobs, they've got different requirements, they've got things they care about. Have you ever found, your organization found, where you have buy-in at the top and maybe even buy-in with the end user, but that middle group that actually has to execute it, rollout, hitting alignment with them is a different set of conversations? And if so, how do you navigate that?
It's absolutely different. The people at the top care about very different outcomes to the people who actually have to do the work. And a lot of the times the people at the top don't understand the work that the people in the middle are doing. And so, like, all the times we feel like we're translating up and down for people to try and get everyone aligned. But I think, the main thing is that we just need to take the time to understand what everyone's trying to achieve. And if you understand, look, at the end of the day, everyone in the institution is trying to get to the same end place, which is helping students. But the thing is that they all have different things that they care about and pressures on their jobs and understanding of what's happening. And when you can take the time to understand where they're coming from, what's important to an individual, then you can understand how to create value for them. And I guess, like, it makes me think, just saying it out loud, is that customer success is always about the people. Who are the people that you're helping? Like, your platform is secondary to the people. It's their job. It's their life pressures. It's the shit going on in their own lives that you need to be aware of. Your platform works. That's the only thing that truthfully that won't change. And then when you can enable them more than they can on their own, they'll love you. So if you understand, you can show, hey, like, we can make you look good to your boss. Like, let's do some research together, or let's do this together. Like, let's work out what they're trying to achieve. And then, you can end up balancing it all together. But if all fails, top down works. Get the person at the top to put the pressure down, and they have to do it anyway.
We got to do it anyway. Yeah. It's always an interesting thing on how do you become the strategic advisor at each role rather than the vendor, right? So how do I make their life better? How do I add value in order to increase credibility so that they understand that I am a partner in not just this product, but in their overall execution of their responsibilities? And I think that's one of the areas that people struggle with, because they want to be strategic on the product, but not on the person and sort of what that role is. And so that's really, really, really insightful. If you had advice for a startup founder or someone that's starting to work in CS as a CEO, if someone comes in, you're like, okay, here, we just got these clients. They said yes, right? They want it. They're going to own our product, and they're sort of responsible for moving this forward, expanding. What are some pieces of advice you could give to folks in this space to just be good?
Just hire good people in CS. Like, don't underinvest. CS will progress your business forward. And it doesn't seem like it, because when you see CS on a P&L statement, it looks like a cost center, but it's not a cost center. What I think people don't understand about CS is that when you invest correctly, your customers are happier, you make more money. And when CS is done well, they're kind of the mesh that holds your product together. Your product isn't everything to every person. CS is what holds that tent up when it's going to fall down. When there's a unique use case or a person who's unhappy, CS is what, is the glue, is what smooths the gap there. So CS can hold everything together. Sales can sell this amazing idea. Your product can deliver a lot of value, but what actually makes it real is CS. So just don't underinvest in CS. Get great people.
And realize that if you're going to have a company with a product for 10 years, that revenue is 9 years sitting after that close. That's the team that's going to own and develop that. No one ever rings the bell when CS signs an extension, as they do on sales, but the money's there. So it's fascinating. All right. So we're just finishing up. I like to do sort of 3 rapid questions sort of about this to get a little bit, sort of about you. And we've sort of already talked about this, but if you had one sentence advice to give to a CEO, and you might have already done it, so you sort of jumped the gun, but says, okay, you're starting your business and you've got to give attention on how you're going to handle post-sale other than, invest well in it. Is there anything that you've seen works or is helpful?
Do it yourself at the beginning. Implement the partners yourself and understand, because you will understand your customers better. You'll understand what they want, what their problems really are, and that will help you shape your product and your sales messaging better. So for a while, do it yourself. Have a crack.
What is your favorite tech right now that you use? What software just in general?
Oh, it's got to be ChatGPT. I use it so much. It's outrageous how much I use it.
Have you gotten better at it? Is it just sort of the same sort of process?
No, every day I'm finding just new use cases for it. Today I was looking up what I should cook in an air fryer. Like just anything, I reckon I'm going in like 30 or 40 times a day now.
My CTO is a big fan, and he's got dueling. He's got Claude up and he's got ChatGPT, and he's figured out which one's good at which. And like they'll value each other. He's like, oh, I've got to do this. I'm going to test it over there. It's sort of crazy. So, and then the last one is there anything that you're working on? Anything that you want to share? Tell people where they can find you and anything that you're working on. They'd love to hear and learn more about it.
Absolutely. First up, subscribe and like my own podcast. I've got a podcast called Do As I Say. It's a startup advice show. I bring on incredible people, and we look at the real problems of startups. Everyone from best-selling authors, from Shark Tanks. I've had amazing founders like Brett that have come on. It's just a podcast that's a lot of fun, and I find Reddit posts about the real shit, the real problems people are facing in their businesses, and then we just talk about that. We see what would we do in that situation. So I love doing it. I think you'll love it as well. So check that out. And just, hit follow on LinkedIn. And then send me a message if you've got any questions. But yeah, Do As I Say is the name of the podcast. Do As I Say on YouTube, and all of your podcast platforms.
It is a lot of fun when we were on it. So so everybody, thank you so much for being part of this. Again, like and subscribe if if this hits anything. If you've got any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you at support at, I always get this screwed up, support at recurringvalue.productions. We really wanted to be able to move this needle, move this conversation forward. We're going to continue week by week, bringing in founders and CS and people on that side, on the post-sale success, to really drive value and to make sure that we understand that our job has the opportunity to deliver value consistently, to be able to expand the revenue in the companies and the businesses to make that impact. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you guys again. Have a good one.
Cheers, Brett.